first listening to that, one probably comes away confused. Much of what is said in some portions of Scripture can be classed as confusing because we look at them the wrong way. We look at them as being in the physical realm. They are not. They are in the spiritual. It's Thanksgiving Sunday, a day for giving thanks, and we have many things for which to be thankful. Many things. Many people have a lot less. In Manitoba today, 52,000 people at least are without power. Now for us that doesn't sound like a lot. That's only part of Kitchener. But out there, that's the bottom half of the province. State of emergency is declared. There are people who have lost their homes, who are living in tents with a lot of wet snow and wind as company. The Premier of the province tells people to stay home today. Stay where you are. Have your celebrations there. Be thankful for what you do have. Those people in tents who have nowhere and are cold still have a lot to be thankful for because they're still alive. We say thanks for a lot of things all the time, don't we? Some people even say thank you when someone else holds a door open for them. Not too often, but occasionally. We say thanks when somebody passes us something, when we see something, or somebody might hold an elevator door. Get us a glass of water, a cup of coffee. All kinds of little things that we say thank you for. And we do it so automatically that it's off the tip of our tongue and through our lips and out in the air before we even realize it. Oh, thanks. Thanks. But does it really have any meaning? Do we thank God for all that He has done for each of us? How often do you thank God? I'm as guilty as you of not really saying thank you. You wake up in the morning, the first thing you should do is thank God for waking you. You're still here. If you aren't wakened, and you don't wake up because you have died, you are in heaven hopefully rejoicing and praising God. But for now we thank Him. In a sermon at Emmanuel Presbyterian Church in Los Angeles, Gary Wilburn said the following, and I quote, "It is something that he found and read, and I am going to read it. In 1636, amid the darkness of the 30 Years' War, German pastor Martin Rinkert is said to have buried 5,000 of his parishioners in 1 year. An average of 15 a day. His parish was ravaged by war, death, and economic disaster. In the heart of that darkness, with the cries of fear outside his window, he sat down and wrote this table grace for his children. Now thank we all our God with heart and hands and voices, who wondrous things have done, in whom His world rejoices, who from our mother's arms hath led us on our way, with countless gifts of love, and still is ours today." Have you ever wondered where that hymn came from? Most of us haven't. He was a man who knew thanksgiving comes from God. Not from outward circumstances, but from God. Imagine 15 funerals a day, 7 days a week for a year. 5,000 people out of the congregation. How sincere is our thank you for those little things that are done for us? If we're truly honest with ourselves, I think many times we thank without really thinking, in an automatic way, as I said. Today's lesson follows the feeding of the 5,000. And I'm sure every one of those 5,000 plus came out and thanked Jesus. Today's lesson is tacked at the end. Jesus left his disciples after that feeding, when he dispersed the crowd, and he went away by himself to reflect and talk with his Father in heaven about where he was to go next, what he was to do, and what was the hope that they would accomplish. The disciples decided among themselves that they would get in a boat and row across to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. So they got in the boat and they started to row, and they were rowing along, and the wind came up and the waves got up, and it got to be a little tougher to row. They rowed for half an hour and moved 10 feet. So they were not getting anywhere fast. Then they saw something. Jesus had wakened from asleep. He knew his disciples needed him, and so he stepped out and was coming to them, walking on the water. Well, they had a little time with that, wouldn't they? Imagine yourself in a similar circumstance, and you see somebody walking to you on the water, and the waves are whipping about, and the wind is there. But they held on. They recognized him. They called to him. And immediately he came into the boat, and they were on the shore at the other side. The crowd who had eaten the bread and the fish realized somewhere in the next hours when they woke up that Jesus wasn't there anymore. Where had he gone? Who saw him? Where did he go? We want to see. So they went looking, and they found him on the other side. And as they got there, they asked how he got there. How did you get here, Jesus? His reply was not to the question that they asked, how did you get here, but to the motive that was in their hearts. You are looking for me, he said, because you ate the loaves and had your fill. Do not work for food that spoils, but for food that endures to eternal life. Now, what kind of food would that be? Bread in those days was the basic staple of life. Everything went around bread. The bread in those days was a lot healthier for us than the bread we consume today. It had all the raw, natural ingredients that we need. It wasn't manufactured and taken out and bleached away. It was left there to be helpful for us. It was, for many, the backbone of life in terms of nourishing them. It was the base of the meal that Jesus had served to them the day before. 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, feeding 5,000 men plus women and children. Don't ever forget to consider the 5,000 men plus women and children. There were a lot more than 5,000 people fed. A lot more. 5 small barley loaves, 2 small fish, and 12 baskets left over. The communion service we celebrated last week. In that service, the bread and juice are reminders of what Jesus has done for us. But do we really give any significance to what the meaning is? People in Jesus' day who were at that meal on the hill failed to see the significance of that meal. He explained the meaning of the meal, but they thought that he meant that they were to eat his physical body and drink his physical blood. No, he was speaking of what he would do for them and for us by dying on a cross and being raised by his Father 3 days later. As the manna fed the children of Israel when Moses asked God for food in the wilderness, and God provided manna, so the body and the blood of Christ is a provision of God for us. Both are meant to be spiritual signs. How many times do we come across something that God has done for us and not recognize it? More times than you might think. Most everyone, I think, is familiar with Sherlock Holmes. He kind of gets into people's lives. Books are written. The books are put into television programs, into movies. Sherlock Holmes, his faithful companion, Dr. Watson, and Holmes' keen power of observation that solved countless crimes. And yet few of us know that Holmes thought deduction and observation were even more necessary to religion. Tucked away in one of the books titled The Adventure of the Naval Treaty, I suspect there'll be a lot of people running to libraries to look for that book soon, Holmes is found studying a rose. Watson narrates. He walked past the couch to an open window and held up the drooping stalk of a moss rose. Looking down at the dainty blend of crimson and green, it was a new phase in his character to me, for I had never before seen him show an interest in natural objects. There is nothing in which deduction is so necessary as in religion, he said. Leaning with his back against the shutters, our highest assurance of the goodness of providence seems to me to rest in the flowers. All other things, our powers, our desires, our food, are really necessary for our existence in the first instance. But the rose, the rose is an extra. Its smell and its color are an embellishment of life, not a condition of it. It is only goodness which gives extras. And so I say again that we have much to hope from flowers. I draw your attention to verse 28 and 29 of the 6th chapter of John. Then they asked him, "What must we do to do the works God requires?" And Jesus answered, "The work of God is this, to believe in the one he has sent." What other extras should we be observing and thanking God for this year, on this Thanksgiving weekend?